Our mission to empower women is
I'm driven by my mission and vision, my passion.
for you as a lucky one, let's say. Wow, that's quite impressive once again.
They're much more careful than before. This is the light which is going to guide you through anything.
Hello, Miss Salama. Thanks a lot for visiting us in our virtual studio today. We do appreciate your time. So, hello.
Hi, Igor. Nice to meet you. And I'm super glad to be here.
Great. So, for us to start, can you please briefly introduce yourself? Like, what are you doing? What are your main kind of activities today? Like, what in general are fields of your interest today?
So where should I start? So my name is Salama Belghali. I'm the founder of salamabelghali.com, and this is a platform to empower women in Web3. So women who are at crossroads in their careers, they would like to join the Web3 industry. I help them to get the minimum viable knowledge in a very efficient way, so that they don't sweat it out, because there is a lot of information in Web3 industry. This is one thing. And I have a second cap. I'm also the founder and the president of Women in Web3 Switzerland. It's an NGO. And we launched about a year ago. And we've been very busy. We've done a lot of things, a lot of achievements. We've been mentioned 3 times in Forbes, for example. We organized the very first Women in Web3 Global Summit in Davos during World Economic Forum this year, and it was a great success. And we're very ambitious, and one of our missions is the empowerment of women in Web3 as well.
Wow, that's impressive. That's quite great. And like, I do love to hear it, because like our mission to empower women as well, because we are like the female-oriented bank, like, let me say, first ever bank for like female influencers and women in business in general. So let me ask please about the start of your way, the start of your professional journey. Like, what education did you get at the very beginning, and how your professional life, professional way started?
So my education is a long time ago. So I studied maths and physics, and then I went to engineering school. So I've had a background in computer science and mathematics. Then I discovered finance. So I had a master's in financial mathematics. And so basically I was predestined to become a quant. I was very much passionate about derivative structured products, and that's what I did for 15 years. And then, and then crypto came, and I was very curious about this world that I found very fascinating since the beginning. My first encounter with Bitcoin was in 2016, when I was involved in structuring the very first ever certificate on Bitcoin. At that time, it was non-existing, ever issued by a bank. And then I think the seed was planted, and I went down the rabbit hole, and here I am today.
Wow, that's quite impressive once again. So I'm curious about, like, did you had the working experience, like, on the usual work? I mean, before you became founder, like businesswoman, like, did you have that experience between education and your business journey?
Yeah, I mean, like, of course. So I spent 15 years in banking. So I was at that time an employee. I had a couple of years where I initiated a startup. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Then I went back as an employee in crypto in order to learn. And after about 3 years, I decided to go solo. So I founded my company end of last year. So the decision of founding my company was based on the very positive feedback and the very positive experience I had within my NGO that I founded a year ago, as I mentioned. I loved, empowering women in Web3. I discovered this new passion, and I thought to myself, this is something I would like to do as a job. I would like to live out of this, right? Because it's combining passion and work. This is the best thing that could happen, right?
Yeah, that's true. So was it the only reason you decided to switch from employee to being the founder, which is like much more, I think, let's say, complicated and probably challenging?
Yeah, I mean, like, of course, there is the passion, the deep desire of empowering women in this new industry, which is Web3, but it's also the desire of making a deeper and significant impact. I saw an opportunity to utilize my skills and my experience to empower other women, and I saw that there is a niche. There are a lot of women who are struggling or who need support, and it's that support. I mean, I went through the same thing and developed these skills over the times, and I see possibilities to help them go much faster, not to waste any time by just giving them actionable tools that they can use. And it's also about driving innovation in a way, and aligning my personal values and my vision with my job. And this is not always so easy when you're an employee, right? Of course, it comes with some downsides. There is a lot of uncertainty. We need to make the end of the month, etc., etc. But this is for me a risk that I'm ready to take, because I'm driven by my mission and vision, my passion, and I believe that this is enough to take me there when I want. And I have faith.
Great, great, great. It's very interesting, and yeah, I can relate to what you're saying right now. So we can say that your business journey, like you became a founder, it started not that long time ago, right? So you mentioned last year.
Yeah, well, it's been a journey, to be honest. This is something which has always been with me, and let's say for personal reasons and for family reasons, I kind of like postponed the time where I would just fly with my own wings. As I mentioned, there was a trial I tried about 5 years ago, and it didn't work. So it was a very nice learning curve. Went back as an employee with the idea that I would go back as an independent. At that time, I didn't really know exactly what, but this idea never really left me. It's always been with me. That was always kind of like my target. Yeah. And now I felt like it's the right time.
Yeah, definitely. Great, great. So let me please ask about once again, like your lifetime, like working experience, like when you started as an employee, from your point of view as a woman in, let's say, business and banking, and until now. Did you notice some inequalities, let's say, maybe you as a woman being treated not like right sometimes, and didn't change it throughout the time, throughout your working experience? What is your perception on that?
It's always a kind of like a recurring problem, let's say. I have to say, in my career, I've been very, very lucky, because from the very start, I always had mentors. Male mentors who supported me, and who recruited me and supported me and saw the potential. So I haven't suffered as much as maybe other women out there. I hear a lot of stories of other women being, discriminated, etc. I have to say, like in the bank, for example, I know for sure that I was earning the same, if not better than my male peers. And I was one of the very few women working there and doing what I was doing. I've been actually promoted to top levels, etc., etc. I could have spent my whole life in banking, but that was because I had very, very good mentors. My last boss was a very, very good mentor. But I see what you mean. Like also in the world of entrepreneurship, you always hear these numbers. So far it's not really my case because I don't need funding, but there are numbers out there. Like in Web3, you hear numbers like 2 to 6%, and that's the rate of women who manage to get funds, whereas the numbers with their male peers are much higher than that. And there are biases, and it's not only with men. The biases are with everybody. Women can also be biased against women. I feel like over the time, there's been a lot of work being done. There's been a lot of increase in awareness. There are a lot of organizations increasing awareness about these problems. My organization as well, although my organization is more about attracting women talents in Web3 and empowering them, not so much about treating any gender bias, because in Web3 you have much younger thought leaders and decision makers, and they tend to be much more open and genuine about diversity. Yeah, so that's a little bit how I see things.
Yeah, so we can consider you as a lucky one, let's say.
Yeah, I think I'm very lucky. I've been very lucky. I never really managed to explain why I've been so lucky, luckier than other female peers. But I guess I kind of understood from the start that the only way to succeed is to have a mentor, a strong mentor, and sponsor. And I always kind of want these very early on in my career. And maybe that's why my career has been pretty fast and pretty successful so far. Yeah, and it's not about only mentoring, it's also sponsorship. Yeah, like the mentor, he's also a sponsor. And when you have a sponsor, you also, as a female employee or mentee, you also need to give something back, right? You're not just taking, you're also giving something back to that person. And that's what I did over my career, and kind of like worked pretty fine. So maybe it's a recipe to use.
Can you suggest, without those mentorships and without that support you've been given at the start, would it be much more challenging for you to pass all that way you've been through?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think but I think that it doesn't only apply to women. I think it applies also to men. It's just because we live in a world which is male dominated in business, especially when you go into banking and tech, you will have much more men. But even within the men, those who don't get the right mentor or sponsor, they also have a hard time. It's for both. Maybe for women, it's a little bit more because they're a minority. And if the mentor or sponsor is a man, so he would more identify with another male. So like the other male is reminding him of himself when he was younger. So he would, without even realizing, he would be supporting him and more than a female who is a little bit more different, right? But yeah, definitely. I don't think I would have managed all what I've done without a mentor or a sponsor. Definitely not.
What is like your perception from your point of view? Are the things changing nowadays? Because like women are getting more and more empowerment in the various fields, and I believe nowadays it became like better and better, like day by day. Like, what's your perception on this? Like, is it happening like fast enough? Like, or do we need to push it even more, or the things are going okay and it will become okay throughout the time? What do you think?
I think a lot of things change. Like since I started my career about 20 years ago, I think it's much easier today for a woman to start even in like male-dominated industries like banking, finance, or tech, or trading, or commodities. There is like awareness in general is much higher. And also I feel because generations like you have Gen Z, Gen Ys, all these millennials, they're very much aware of all these things, and you cannot go with them with the old values. They wouldn't stay. And the companies, they need to incentivize their employees, and they're much more careful than before. That's a little bit my feeling. Like there is a big wave of change anyway. Now, if the change is fast enough, I think it's too slow. It's way too slow. Especially when it comes to, opportunity, equality in opportunities. I'm not even talking about salary discrepancies, because this is pretty obvious for different reasons. But let's say just for the opportunities. I see a lot of women who don't even get the opportunities for, working on an interesting project, or getting to a certain position, or being even considered for a C-level. These decisions are taken outside of work or outside of the boardroom, on networking events where the guys are, hanging out together and doing, some guys things, and where the woman is not even invited. I think in Finland, they call it like the sauna. They have a very special name for that. Like when the decisions are taken between the guys, and a way to exclude the women from the decision making. So even if the women make it to the C-levels, at some point they have their way to kind of exclude them. So they go to the sauna. That's where the decisions are made. I made that. I think I heard it once and I found it very, very interesting.
Wow, that's interesting and pretty easy to hear in the same way. Quite unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Okay, good, good. And you mentioned about inequality in incomes. What do you think on that? You said it's pretty obvious, but what's for you obvious? Like, what do you think the current situation in this? Like, are women still earning less than male in the same positions or not? What do you think?
I mean, again, I was a lucky one because I always made my checks and I realized I was earning at least the same as my peers, if actually not higher. And in most of the cases, I was actually earning higher than my peers. What I see from the statistics, though, that is that women tend to earn much less. And I know women who are doing exactly as the same as their male colleagues and who earn 30, sometimes to 40% much less. And their peers are encouraging them to go and see the manager and tackle this problem. And the manager would say, yeah, well, but you're a woman. That's normal that you're earning less because you can get pregnant, or it's because you have family, but they're bringing much more money, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, even if they make more revenues than their male colleagues. I mean, I know this story from a woman that I'm going to remain discreet about her, and it's just insane. And this is just one story, and there are like thousands of them. And there are a lot of let's say cultures or environments where it's still very conservative, where the males still, reduce the women to a role of a housewife, or they don't really see them, or they don't want to see them as their peers, or as financial independent, being on their own. And yeah, I don't know exactly what could speed up the process so that we can live in 2024 and not in another century back.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm curious, the things you've been talking about right now, where mostly this is like actually happening? Like you're talking about Europe or about Switzerland or about worldwide?
I'm talking about Europe,
Mostly in Europe.
unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Western Europe. I'm not sure about other parts of Europe, but let's say Western Europe. Yeah, so there is still surprisingly very, very conservative cultures, let's say, of companies or countries, or where this kind of reactions, and HR wouldn't react. Surprisingly, HR wouldn't say anything. That person, that manager, would keep on saying these things openly, and nobody would intervene. But that's the kind of stories that come up to me, from my organization, my NGO, which counts 600 women plus.
Yeah, that's why it's very curious to see and to hear your point of view, because you definitely have some to say because you know things.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I need to deal with all these stories which come up to me, and sometimes I have to say I'm kind of overwhelmed because I don't know what I can do. It's just sad, but we can talk about things and raise awareness, and that's what we are doing.
Yeah, at least that's the least we can do today.
Exactly. Talk about things.
Summarize our conversation briefly. Like, do we see still that dynamics is positive? Can you conclude that?
Absolutely. I mean, the trend is positive, and exactly. So at least we're talking about it. It's not taboo anymore. It's not like these people who are having such situations are not feeling alone, right? So they can go back to organizations like ours. They can share their experience with other people. They can get feedback, they can get tips and tricks, and they can get job offers to get out of their situation. Yeah, so I think this is very important. That's the power of the community, and that's what is growing. I feel like my organization, and there are like thousands of others everywhere in the world. I feel like this is a global movement which is happening.
So that's good. Like, we'll hope that the things will get better and better throughout the time, right? And we will help as much as we can.
Yeah, definitely. You always need to remain positive.
To end our conversation today, like what you can say to our audience, like from you, like maybe to wish something, maybe to empower or motivate one way or another, like what you can say to the audience from yourself, your experience.
Whatever you're doing and wherever you're heading to, just make sure that you have your goal, your vision, your mission for yourself very clear, because this is the light which is going to guide you through anything. And if you have that very, very strong, you have this focus, then even if you're going through a very hard time, if things are not working the way you want them, it doesn't matter, because you need to stick to the big picture. Don't worry about right and left things which are, maybe they seem like obstacles, but that's just the moment. Focus on the end goal. That's the most important.
Great, good words. I can relate. So thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for this conversation. It was very, very interesting for me personally, and I believe for all of our audience as well. So thanks a lot, Ms. Salama, for joining us today. Wish you all the best on your journey, on your way. Wish you all the luck possible. Take care.
Thank you, Aiko. It was a pleasure. Thank you.